Hey guys, welcome to Axial GT. Today we're talking about New World, and more specifically, a few issues and concerns. So far, New World is fun, but it could be so much better. First things first, I've seen on multiple forums and different posts on Twitter, people asking why we are playing a preview of a game that has been delayed till next year, meaning why did Amazon open up this preview to the public? Well, I believe that's mainly for two reasons: optics and much needed feedback on the direction of the game and content going forward. While overall, New World is, let's say, interesting, I still see the game as having an identity crisis. When development first started, it was PvP focused, then midstream the switching of directions to make it a PvX, a mix of PvE and PvP. And while I applaud the change, it seems the PvE side gets repetitious and boring, especially early on. Now I've been doing my playthrough a little bit different than most YouTubers. The first half of my time spent in this preview of New World has been trying to play a more casual player and doing as much solo content as I can. The Amazon Game Studio devs have touted New World solo content to be aplenty. And yes, there is a lot to do, like kill this many turkeys or this many wolves, just as an example. But progression in doing such things doesn't really justify the time spent in doing the task. You will find yourself falling behind your friends in levels pretty quick. The disparity in XP gained while doing side quests make them not really worth doing, at least as a solo PvE player. And yes, I know this is an MMO, meant to be played with others. I'm just going off all the articles that push solo gameplay. If you want to keep up with your friends, you really can't be a solo player, at least early on. So yes, I believe Amazon really does need a little focus here, and hopefully this preview can give them some direction. Number 2 in my reasons on why Amazon opened up the preview is the optics. With numerous delays under AGS's belt when it comes to New World, I believe they are almost forced to do so, or the optics will make them look terrible, especially to all those who have pre-ordered thinking that the game was going to release soon. A mass cancellation of pre-orders would have been expected. Now I want New World to succeed. And no, it's not a WoW killer, but it's a nice first step for Western MMOs that we haven't seen in a while. Now let's get into some issues that really do need to be addressed and fixed. First is the combat, which naturally would be first, since it's one of the first things you notice because it's the first thing you do after the character creation. The combat has been described as Souls-ish type combat. Now admittedly, I'm coming off playing the game Mortal Shell that had really good combat. This combat in New World seems a little wonky. Yeah, I know, technical term. But you do get used to it after a while. But the main issue that crops up is the cooldown for your special abilities. In a game that offers a fluid switch between weapons while in combat, it makes combat less fluid and intriguing the way the cooldown works. Your cooldown is for the key binding and not for the weapon itself. So let's say you're using a musket and hit Q for your special, then switch to a sword and shield. As the enemy gets closer, the cooldown is still in effect, so you can't use your special if it's linked to the Q key. I believe your specials and the respective cooldowns need to be linked to the weapon used. Don't get me wrong, the combat seems to have a solid foundation to build upon, but seriously needs to be tweaked. And I do like the Skyrim-esque type weapon progression. The more you use a certain weapon type, the more proficient you become. But this cooldown issue really slows down the pacing of combat. If they're trying to get away from spamming special abilities, I can understand that. But that's not what they've done here, because early on, you can actually move your key bindings around to where you can use your specials, even after switching weapons. But I can see this being a problem later in the game when you've progressed your weapon mastery and have all the slots filled up. It'd be hard to move them around then. At the very least, they need to lessen the cooldown time for the new weapon you've swapped to, at the very least. Now we come to the running simulator portion of the game. This game world is big enough to have some sort of mount mechanic. As I mentioned earlier, side quests of killing turkeys, rabbits, wolves gets old pretty quick. And the most interesting quests wind up being, let's say, quite a jog. When you have a quest objective that's 2 or 3 kilometers away, you wind up running and running and running. Oh, and did I say running? A way to speed up this travel system really would be nice. Now I know the life staff does really provide a little boost to your travels, and I use it often. But it's my opinion that it really isn't enough. This game is still on the verge of being an open world temple run, and stopping and killing mobs along your way is really not worth your effort. The XP gain versus the time consumed makes it more of a nuisance rather than an exciting way to explore the world. I would actually bet you spend more time running than you do actually playing and accomplishing goals in the game. It also becomes an issue when you decide to hop in on a game. In one of the few times I decided to group up with someone and you find you are 5 kilometers apart. And contemplating whether it's worth the run or not to meet up with someone is something you'll wind up judging in the back of your mind. Now when it comes to crafting, just seeing how it works early on, I can see one issue really popping up. Maybe not in this preview event that we are playing now, but when the game does launch and everybody has plenty of time to play, as time goes along, I can see where everyone will be excellent at crafting everything, because time is the only thing that will limit the skills you become proficient at. I can see over time there will be no specialization when it comes to crafting, and I love the crafting mechanic itself. But becoming a weaponsmith and excelling at making swords is a huge grind. You gather mats, you make a few hundred iron swords, you unlock steel swords, gather more mats, make hundreds of those, and so on. Now for me, I can kind of see it both ways, and I'm kind of up in the air on this part. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. But this part of crafting, all the way up to level 35, just to hit the next tier, seems like it could be made much more interesting. And some type of limit should be in place to prevent masters of everything. Next I'll talk about something I touched on in the beginning of the video. But the questing really needs some work. Whether you're doing the main quest, side quest, faction missions, the town board, they're all basically the same. Kill certain mobs for the quest giver, make deliveries, or go fetch something from a certain area by looking through crates. Every quest, no matter what quest giver you use, or where you get the quests, like the NPC, town board, war board, are all the same. A little variety would be nice, and ones that are the same should provide the same XP. Killing wolves on the town board and from NPCs or factions should provide the same amount of XP increase. And it may just be me, and I could be totally wrong on this, but the difference in between PvP and PvE missions shouldn't be so steep when it comes to XP gains. I know they want to push PvP and make it more enticing, but a 10% increase in PvP for the same type of mission should be plenty. I've seen some missions pop up on both PvP and PvE and only a couple hundred meters difference in running time, and the PvE is almost half the XP gain of the PvP. That seems a little extreme. And I'll also mention that PvP actually sucks in this game. Besides the territory wars, I'm trying to figure out why you would even flag yourself for PvP, besides a little bit of bonus in XP. You don't really get anything besides just a minute amount of gold when fighting another player, and for the most part they just run away when you get the best of them. There's very few ways you will die in PvP in the open world, being caught off guard or ganged up on. That's the only two I see. And lastly, I'll go ahead and bring up spawn rates. It almost seems to me that spawn rates are configured for a server that only has like 50 to 75 people. Enemies don't respawn fast enough. You have a crowd of people running around doing all the same quests. You wait around for mobs to spawn. I think this could use a little tweak. They need to respawn faster. And I don't know if I'm asking too much or not, but I actually wonder if it's possible for it to be actually a dynamic adjustment. Like the mob spawn rates will adjust to how many people are in a certain area. And I'll bring this up kind of as an afterthought, but the assets used in the game are all the same. All the towns look the same. All the buildings look the same, no matter what territory you go to. Now those are my ideas, and things that I do think need to be fixed. Now things like weapon variety and mob variety, I knew was going to be pretty lacking in this preview event, and I'm sure when the game launches, they will have more weapons and mobs to farm on. But don't get me wrong, the game is fun, and the Lumberyard engine really does a good job, except for a few desyncing issues. It's a gorgeous world to be in. I just think this game does need a lot of work, and hopefully AGS is up for the challenge. And as of the making of this video, the preview event ended yesterday, and I'm already missing my time with New World. And I'll also admit, as a casual player, I didn't get to see a lot of the in-game stuff. Well, at least play it myself. I've watched many streams of it. So that's why I'm not really talking about the faction wars, or the in-game boss, because I actually didn't get to do it myself. But tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I read all of them. And links to social media and Twitter are also in the description. And don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on notifications to know when I upload. And I really appreciate you watching and your support. Until next time guys, I'm out of here. You all have a good one.